Well, Apple did the thing we knew they were going to do all along, which is drop support for Intel Macs after macOS 26 Tahoe. And there will be a year or two of security updates, but after that, no more Intel. They're even removing Rosetta for the most part, except for GPTK for certain game functions. So, no more Intel Macs after that point. And that means no more OpenCore and no more Hackintoshes, unless things get really crazy on the ARM front, but I wouldn't count on it. So I wanted to do a quick personal side. When I started my channel, it was named Definitive Mac Pro Upgrade Guide. And wow, wasn't that a mouthful? That was because I had a couple blog posts that were really popular, and I just figured, I'll make a few videos to complement these and call it a day. I didn't realize I would want to make more videos. So I dropped the Pro part and named myself Demug or Definitive Mac Upgrade Guide, a name I still didn't like, but it worked a lot better, it was more versatile. But after the Apple Silicon Mac Pro, it became apparent Apple didn't do upgrades anymore. It's an expandable computer as you can stick things into it, but you can't upgrade any of the components. The RAM, the CPU, the GPU. They're just locked in forever, bolted down. Definitive Mac Upgrade Guide didn't make sense either. A couple of friends thought it'd be fun if I just said my name was DMG, like Definitive Mac Guide, and I thought, that's clever. I'll just leave it DMG. It can stand for that, but you could say it stands for other things. It's DMG here forward because there are no more upgrades, especially after the end of the Intel Mac era. And now for a little bit of a eulogy for the Mac Pro 2019, because I think this computer, Apple was kind of like a petulant child. After the Mac Pro 2013 didn't pan out, they were kind of like, you want upgradability? Fine, we'll give you the most upgradable Mac that you have ever seen. This is like a Power Mac 9600 on steroids. It has 8 PCIe slots, it can do 1.5 terabytes of RAM, it can have 28 cores, and you can jam in multiple GPUs, and it has a 1.4 kilowatt power supply. And it's completely modular. Oh, and it's almost dead silent almost all the time. And so they made this incredible computer. And I think they did this and delayed on this because they were so hung up on Thunderbolt. This is a fan theory in my head. I have zero evidence for this. You can completely disagree with this and it'll be a fun debate in the comments, but I really think that Apple married itself to video over Thunderbolt. That was such a difficult solution to engineer around because pass-through through dedicated GPUs required either having them bolted down or wildly custom like the Mac Pro 2013. Even though those are modular dedicated GPUs, they're completely custom jobs. So Apple did not have any sort of solution. They had to come up with like crazy solutions like the iMac 2017 Pro just to work around this video over Thunderbolt issue. And what they ended up doing is creating a subset of PCIe, the MPX slots, to get Thunderbolt to pass through video. That's the reason why I think that we didn't get like just PCI Macs coming out regularly, because the Mac Pro should be the most boring computer in all of Apple's lineup. It should just be a box that had PCIe slots. You could just jam all the RAM and GPUs in it and you wanted and called it a day. It should have just been like clockwork. Here's the latest Intel stuff. Have fun, pros. Who cares? Don't even need to do product announcements. The Mac Pro 2019 effectively died in 2022 when Apple did not add Radeon 7000 series support to its lineup. And the Mac Pro seems to be even more dead as it doesn't have an M3 Ultra or M4 Ultra. Mark Gurman did say that there was supposed to be an M4 Ultra Mac this summer for the Mac Pro, but that seems really unlikely because the M4 does not have the Infinity Fabric Link or whatever it's called to make the Ultra happen. So it'd either have to be some sort of bespoke chip or they're delaying it another year and waiting for the M5 Ultra, which seems absurd because it's probably going to be the exact same situation. Just a empty husk of itself that can't be upgraded with probably PCI 5.0 for the few PCIe cards out there. I've been one of the biggest Mac Pro advocates for a while now on the internet, and there's other guys out there like Lance of Mac Sound Solutions, and then there's Jesse's of Jesse's Flying, and then a bunch of people that post on Mac Rumors and also Facebook. Those people are very important. But you'll notice that most of these people are moving away from the Mac Pro, and I am too. So this is kind of a eulogy for the Mac Pro lineup because it's effectively dead. So that brings me to my next point. I want to get away from giving Apple so much control of my digital life because they're content on making these boxes that are stagnant and cannot ever be really serviced. But you know what can be are servers. So I've gotten recently into network attached storage devices because these things are full-blown computers. You can upgrade the RAM on them and upgrade the storage and do things like SSD caching, and some of them even have expansion units or can connect to external drives. So these things are way more upgradable than what Apple offers, even though usually they're a SoC with a, the GPU if they have one, and a CPU. And that's it. But the upside, though, is you can port your data between these and they're running Linux. So I figure I'm going to move as much of my digital life outside of the Apple ecosystem and turn my Macs more into terminals, so I am paying less money for a Mac and then I can upgrade more frequently. Previously, I went forever between upgrades. I had a 2008 Mac Pro and I used that all the way until the late 2010s when I acquired a 2010 Mac Pro. Still not much of an upgrade, but I went from an 8-core box to a 12-core box. And then from there, I went to a 2019 Mac Pro. But I won't be buying an Apple Silicon Mac Pro as it just doesn't make any sense. The biggest thing it has is just those internal PCIe slots, which are fast. They're PCI 4.0, but not 5.0, which means you could do things like create RAID volumes off a single card in a 16x slot and get gobs and gobs of speed using that. That's the main advantage. But you can kind of do that already on the Apple Silicon Mac Pros without it if they have Thunderbolt 5, because that gives you PCI 4.0 speeds. At the point of PCI 4.0, that's not really prohibitive at this point in time for much of anything. I'm going to move everything to a NAS storage and then have a couple fast local storage devices. Probably going to go with like a PCIe enclosure, although there's cheaper ways to go about that. You don't have to do that, but it's just kind of me being a nerd. So the idea is I just buy maybe a Mac Mini, jack in my computer to the storage and network, and then upgrade it every few years. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of Mac Pro users. This style video is not my normal content. I usually am not just a talking head YouTuber, and I hope you guys found this enjoyable. This is much more difficult for me than writing stuff down and just narrating through it, because I get to practice and pick my best takes, and talking off the cuff is really difficult, and I need to get some sort of screen reader so I can start doing more of this. I want to prove that I'm not AI, so someone who stumbles in can go through and thumb through and know that I'm an actual human on the other end. Of course, we're getting to an inflection point where you won't be able to tell, but hopefully no one's trying to be recreating a aging millennial like the background with old Macs and a face that looks like this. So I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. I want to shout out my Patreons because they're the ones who keep me doing this. I know I don't offer that much on my Patreon, but the people who support me are saints. Thank you guys. Your names are on the screen. I appreciate all of you.